Hey folks, welcome back to the Crossworks Media Podcast. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the shooting of Andrew Tekle Sundberg, the Good Samaritan at Greenwood, Indiana Mall, and how the Democrats rejected a GOP resolution to denounce violence against churches and pro-life centers. So we'll just hop right into it. I'm sure you guys know all about this Tekle Sundberg stuff that went down. It was over around July 13th when police were called to Sundberg's apartment building when a tenant reported that someone was firing gunshots into her unit, endangering her and her two children. Police engaged Tekle in a 6-hour standoff that ended with snipers taking him out on July 14th. Tekle's family criticized police's actions by stating that he was having a mental health crisis, and it ended up being that BLM and stuff took to the streets to protest, and they thought that because they thought it was an unjustifiable killing. They were met by the victim, Arabella Foss Yarborough, who challenged them while they were being heckled by the protesters. So, like I just said, that this guy was, for some reason, ended up, we don't know the full reason why, but he ended up shooting into that apartment complex. Police got called on him, and they had a 6-hour standoff where he just randomly started popping shots into his apartment complex. And you guys can go online and look at the pictures of this lady's apartment, and the thing was just riddled with bullet holes. And people, of course, BLM and stuff like that, they just see that it's a black guy killed by police, and they just immediately think that it has to have racial aspects to it. And they started protesting in the streets, and this lady ended up going out and challenging them and saying that this isn't a George Floyd situation. He was trying to shoot me and my kids, and some of the BLM protesters were out there telling, what was it? They told her to shut up, and she was like, my apartment has bullet holes, and they were like, not in you though, you're okay, shut up. And yeah, it was just a bunch of bull crap, and they're just trying to shout down the victim. Like, what happened to victim blaming?
Well, so this is from attorney Ben Crump, I guess, from Twitter. He says, he has a picture of Tekle Sundberg. They always pick the best picture they can find, and he says, this is Tekle Sundberg. Minneapolis Police Department killed this smart, loving, and artistic 20-year-old after an hours-long standoff while he was experiencing a mental health crisis. We need answers from MPD as to why Tekle's mental health crisis became a death sentence. Listen, folks, he lost the right to live after he started blowing holes into his wife's or girlfriend's apartment.
No.
It was just random.
It was a random lady. It came out later that that lady's sister, what's her lady's name? The Arabella Foss Yarborough.
Yeah.
Her sister put up a GoFundMe account, and on the GoFundMe account it said that the Tekle dude was actually like stalking and harassing her for a couple months before this happened.
Okay, yeah. So he's blasting holes in her apartment, and all of a sudden he's the victim. Like, no, he got what was coming to him. Like, what do you people expect to happen? If someone starts shooting holes in my house with my children or my child, I only have one, and my wife at home,
who cares if they're having a mental health crisis?
Yeah, who cares?
They're attempting to kill someone.
Yeah, exactly. This guy, whatever, he's having a mental health crisis, but are you going to just let him kill whoever he wants to kill? Would the Nazis say they were just having a mental health crisis at the concentration camps? And, oh, no, you can't stop them. It's a mental health crisis. Obviously not, people. This is it. This is the problem. Evil exists in this world, and people want to just think that there's no evil. Okay, evil will happen. Okay, that's just a fact. So you can't prevent evil. You can't take guns away to stop killing. Killing's going to happen. Whatever. This guy died. He forfeited his right to live by threatening somebody else's right to live. And he lost that right. And you know what? He's dead. And you know what? Whatever. Life goes on. This happens all the time. Why does this one instance get media attention? Because he was black. It was Minneapolis Police Department, who, Derek Chauvin.
Same police department
with George Floyd. That's the only reason why they're talking about this. This happens all the time.
Yeah, and all right, you can keep going.
So I have some statistics here. In 2021, a survey showed that 1.67 million times a weapon was used in a self-defense situation. Okay? So 1.5 million. Over 1.5 million. Okay, and in this in this instance, you could say it was police officers, but still, it was self-defense. It was, and
My bad.
Christopher Columbus? What the heck? Anyway, so I don't know. What was I gonna say? Anyways, so yeah, this stuff happens constantly. It fits the media's narrative, so they push it.
And as soon as this stuff happens, they have to come out and paint him, this guy, like he's an angel. He's such a smart, loving, artistic 20-year-old. But then you go, they found his TikTok, and he was posting stuff like this on there.
I don't know what the natives were thinking when they seen Christopher Columbus. If I seen a random white man come at me out of nowhere, I would not greet them. I would be hostile, very hostile. Like, who are these people, and why are they brighter than me? Take their skin. Hey, y'all should take that boat back to Europe. Go back home.
So that take their skin?
Yeah, he said he would take their skin.
Oh,
but that last clip, there was a bunch of white people on a boat, and he was yelling at them to go back to Europe.
Yeah, exactly. This guy was a whack job. Yeah, maybe he was having a mental health crisis. He was a course short, but whatever. So, and like you said, BLM comes out and is yelling at the poor lady who's, rightfully scared. And she's, she had bullets ripping through her apartment. We saw the pictures, and it was in her bathroom. Like the mirror was shattered, bullets going through the sink and stuff. It was crazy. And thankfully, it doesn't seem to be turning out like George Floyd. It's very much, a smaller situation, because I think people are.
They're still protesting it though.
Right, but it's not like George Floyd. Like, people are realizing that this stuff is bullcrap. But BLM is bullcrap. They're
trained Marxists. On their website, it used to say before they deleted it, that their mission is to destroy the nuclear family.
Yeah.
Like, they're actually supposed to be trained Marxists that want, they're not just protecting black people. They're a lot more than that.
Yeah.
They hide behind the mask of their name, Black Lives Matter, but they're a lot more than just that. Yeah, and they use their funding and stuff like that to buy $2 million mansions.
Yeah.
And then give a bunch of money to their brothers and stuff like that. But yeah, so if we, so we have one case where a guy is, rightfully taken out by the cops, and then, then you come and look and with this Elijah Dickens guy over in Greenwood, Indiana. So Dickens and his girlfriend were walking when the shooter emerged from the bathroom and opened fire. So him and his girlfriend were just walking through the mall, and what the girlfriend said was that she noticed that there was a guy coming out of the bathroom with a long rifle. Yeah. And she was like, "Hey, isn't that a rifle?" And the guy started opening up fire, and the Elijah guy was like, "Oh, quick, get behind me!" And he props up. I think he got behind a post and emptied his 9mm Glock, 10 rounds, hit 8 of them in 15 seconds from about 40 yards away, and took out the guy. And I think only two people got shot or something like that in the end.
So that's 120 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is impressive.
Crazy.
Like that is very accurate shooting with a handgun. I'm curious of what kind of Glock it is. 10 rounds? Was it a
probably a Glock 43X?
Yep, G43X, which is a smaller handgun, a little bit more difficult to shoot than a full size or anything. That's right there. That's an American hero.
Yep.
And he's been getting praised, which is good, and I hope that people will look at the situation and realize that, yeah, you know what? Just because the cops suck down in Uvalde doesn't mean that the American hero, the American person, man, woman, the armed citizen can protect you. And you know what? Yeah, people died in this shooting, which is sad. The guy, he killed people, right? Was it 3 people?
Yeah.
And imagine if he wasn't there. Another 15 seconds, there'll be 6 people dead.
Yeah, just think if the Democrats had their way, that guy wouldn't be able to carry a gun.
Yep.
And they think with regular citizens, they don't have enough training to do this. This guy had no military or police training.
Yep.
Guess how he was trained? He was trained. His granddad showed him how to shoot.
Yep. And I'm sure he had a couple practices.
No formal
on the
training.
Range, and that's it. And that's fine. And who cares? That's great. This is awesome. People. I don't. The left hates the cops, but they only want the cops to have guns. I don't understand that. I don't want the cops to only have guns. I'm not a big fan of the cops. There's good cops out there, sure, but most of the good ones quit in the last year or two, 3 years, and as they should. I would never work for an agency like that now, but it's people don't trust the cops anymore.
Yeah, so if you want to look at the timeline of it, the Greenwood police chief, James Eisen, revealed in a statement, the surveillance video shows the shooter exit the restroom at 5:56:48 p.m. He was neutralized by Dickin at 5:57:03 p.m. So, like, that is, like, no time.
Yeah.
But, yeah, literally 15 seconds. And he had no permit to carry.
Yeah, because Indiana has constitutional carry, which every state should have.
Yeah, I don't know why South Carolina doesn't have it yet. It's pretty ridiculous.
Well, because there's a couple, like, softcore Republicans in there that keep banning it. Luckily, we do have finally open carry with training, which is stupid. It should just be permitless everything, but whatever. But yeah, so like I said earlier, 1.67 million guns were used in self-defense. 31% of people in the survey who have weapons say that they've used weapons in self-defense, and almost 82% of the time they don't ever have to shoot. You don't ever have to actually shoot the gun. People see the gun, you tell them you have a gun, and they're like, okay, they don't want to deal with you. And 80% of this happens in the home. So that's where the majority of these situations happen, is when someone breaks into your house. And a lot of people, if they're on drugs and they're crazy, they bust in your home at night, or when they think you're gone and you and your kids are at home, and they're climbing through a window or through a door. You have a right in most states. You have what's called the castle doctrine, or stand your ground, where you don't have to retreat. Some states have you duty to retreat. You have to run away, which is stupid. That's dumb. So I have a little story here. Is a mom in Texas. Let's see if I can pull it up here. A mom in Texas was at home with her 3 kids, and I think it was at nighttime. Yeah. So a Texas mother of 3 shot and killed a man who broke into her home while her children were asleep. But the police say she won't face any charges. So yeah, so this 41-year-old man kicked in the door or the window and climbed into the house, and she was waiting there with a gun, shot him 2 times in the chest, and he went outside, sat in a chair, and he died. And you don't hear this in major news, because that doesn't fit the Democrats' narrative to ban guns. So you people who want to ban guns,
what would that lady do?
Yeah, what do you think you should do? Hit him with a chair? What if he has a gun? So, dude, this is a mom with her 3 little babies, 3 little kids. I don't know if they're babies, but do you want to strip her rights to protect herself? We have a right to life. That's also why we believe in no abortions, a right to life. And someone was saying, if you don't, the Democrats don't have a fundamental right to life. They don't believe in a right to life. They look at abortion. They say that abortions should be illegal. You should be able to kill your baby. So they're stripping away a right to life. So they don't think you should have a gun to protect your life. They don't actually care about these people who get killed, in mass shootings. They don't care.
Especially because all the Democrat elites have people with guns that protect them.
Yeah, and they don't. They just the Democrats push this, and the media pushes this to disarm the American people. And they use emotional stories, lies, propaganda to convince naive people that we shouldn't have guns. Why? Because the government, when the people is armed, the government has a fear of the people, kind of. They have a wariness to commit tyranny or to overstep their boundaries. They want to get rid of that. They don't want the American people to be armed. So that's what this is all about. And gun culture, I think, is winning. So do you have anything else to add on the?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I went on a long rabbit hole, but.
Yeah, but like you were saying earlier about how it doesn't make any sense how the Democrats hate the police, think they're such racist people that are out just hunting down black people, but yet they want to take away our pistols to be able to protect ourselves. So then what, we're going to rely on the police? So let's say a black dude, he's living in his house. Someone kicks his door. He doesn't have a gun because Democrats took it away. Now you want him to call the racist police?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So do you trust the police to get there in time? to help you? I wouldn't say so. When you look at this new poll, it shows so they asked Americans who they trust more when it comes to being in like a life, what do we call it? A life threatening situation. Would they trust armed civilians, police officers, or federal agents more? And the poll found that 41.8% of citizens said that they would rather have an armed civilian being there to protect them. 25% said police, and only 10% said federal agents.
Yep.
So people, I mean, you could trust your neighbor a lot more than I would trust a federal agent.
Oh, of course.
You go look into all the ATF stuff. I mean, and so with all this stuff, I mean, so when you compare these two things, like, obviously, if that lady had a gun, she could protect herself with that against the Tekle guy. But and then you look at the Uvalde stuff, where 19 children and 2 teachers were killed by that maniac. And just Texas lawmakers just put out a report where they concluded that the local police failed to prioritize saving the lives of innocent victims over their own safety.
Yep.
So it's pretty quite obvious why people don't believe in police officers anymore. There's all this defund the police. They're getting less training. They've neutered the police force now.
Yeah, and you know what? That the one cop who was going to stop it, they detained him.
That was a Texas Ranger.
Yeah, and his wife was one of the. She was in the school. I don't know if she was one that was shot or whatever, but she was in the school and they detained him. They kept him from going in.
No. He got in there. He got in there, saved his wife. The lady the dude who was at the
barbershop.
Yeah, at the barbershop. He grabbed
that wasn't a ranger. That was border patrol.
I thought that was a ranger.
No.
Okay. Well, whatever.
I'm talking about the police officer whose wife was a teacher. He was a Uvalde Police Department. He tried to go in there earlier before they got there, and then they held him back. So,
well, it's just cowardice. If you guys can go find the, there's footage. They released the footage of the shooting. It's not in the classroom. It's just there's a camera in the hallway, and it shows you what all the cops are doing. One of the cops goes up and gets hand sanitizer. One of the other cops just sits on his phone while he's out there. And they found out that guy who was sitting on his phone, his wife was one of the teachers in that classroom that got shot.
Yeah, what a freaking weirdo.
Cowardice.
Yeah, see right here. Video shows cop husband of slain Uvalde teacher held back during the shooting. Yeah, so he was trying to go in there. This is from the Daily Mail. The latest damning evidence of the police abysmal response shows Ruiz trying to get past heavily armed colleagues at 11:48. She says she's shot. She says she's shot. He pleads with them while stumbling forward in a fog of shock. Hey, Ruben, someone off screen says as they're moving past the line of officers stopping him from going inside. They lead him away, telling him they have to wait for help from another horse. So at 11:33, Salvador Ramos enters the building. 2 minutes later, the husband, Officer Ruiz, shows up to the classroom, and at 11:36, he's seen on different surveillance footage, checking footage from his phone, hoping for a message from his wife. He checks his phone again at 11:37, then is shown walking out of the school building to the grounds outside. So it looks like he didn't know whether she was being shot, but then when she texted him, he tried to go in there and save her, and they held him back. Which is just weird. Why wouldn't you just go in there?
Yeah.
They had shields.
Yeah. If you watch the video, they were behind shields, just posted up with AR.
Yeah.
Just aiming down the hallway.
And people surprisingly can survive gunshot wounds pretty significantly. Like, there's a lot of if you look at casualties in wars to deaths, like a lot of people get shot and not die. A lot of people get shot pretty good, especially if you're next to a like a hospital or wherever medical equipment. If you get shot somewhere, as long as it can get you blood and keep you breathing, if it's not in like the brain or anything, you're fine. Like, it's crazy. My brother was a combat medic in the military. If they can keep you oxygenated and with blood, you're most likely not going to die. It's just what happens is if you get obviously shot in, central nervous system, stuff like that, or they can't get to you. But either way, kind of a dumb tangent. But my point is, they have body armor on. They have these shields. Why wouldn't they go in? You know why? Because you know what? Most of these police officers probably don't even live in the town. No connection to this town. They're all scared. They're all a bunch of babies. I'm not saying I could do it or would do it, but you know what? If my kid
They
or
signed
wife
up
was
for
in
that
there,
job.
yeah, that's part of the job. If you can't do it, don't freaking do it. Get out. If you would have 3 people willing to do it, you could get rid of the 20 other guys, and they would get the job done. So I just get hot.
So when you look at all these situations, what would you do about them? Like, okay, what better more training for police? That like,
yeah, you'd have to. Well, first of all, stop demonizing the police departments.
yeah,
Okay, vet these people who come in. Don't hire any Joe
not,
Schmo.
Not everyone who's going to the police is going in for the right reason.
Right, and you know what? That's a problem. There's a lot of people I know growing up who became cops. I'm like, dang, I would never expect them to be a cop. And you know what? But the problem is they can't pick and choose who they want because the police department gets so demonized.
Gutted.
And the problem is too, is that there's a lot of people inside the police department that are very left, liberal, woke. They got their own police departments. So it's...
No, but the sheriffs are elected.
Well, I'm talking police
Okay.
departments. Like Uvalde Police Department, Minneapolis Police Department. But yeah, sheriffs is usually different. Sheriffs, I would trust a sheriff over a police department. But still, like, either way, you can get some bad sheriffs in there. Look at that sheriff down in Florida. When what is it? Parkland. That guy, his officers, his sheriff's deputies did the same thing. They all hid and
Well, I believe it was Parkland where they had the guy in there that was supposed to protect the school, and he ran out.
He ran out.
And he got charged later on.
Yeah, so it's
Cowardice.
It's cowardice, and it's sad.
So where does this cowardice stem from then, do you believe?
Feminism.
Well, you think so?
I think that feminism...
Taking away what is it? Toxic masculinity?
Yeah, I think, so it's not necessarily feminism, but when they start blaming toxic masculinity on anything, like, men don't...
They try to whitewash, like, manhood.
It's like the stories of these people on, subways, and the lady was getting raped and nobody stopped her. Stopped the guy raping her.
Well, that a lot of people, like, said that people may be thinking that if they try to stop and hurt that guy, they could get charged as well.
So it's the whole...
It's all watching out for yourself now. There's, like, with all this COVID stuff, we were all self-isolating.
Yeah.
You don't, like, I mean, there's so many people now. Like, when you walk around, you don't really have, I mean, you live in a neighborhood. Do you know a lot of people in here?
No, I know a couple on a first name
Think about it.
basis.
You're going to work, and you're leaving your wife with a bunch of people that you don't even know. Like,
Right.
We don't even talk to our neighbors anymore.
She knows people.
Yeah.
Because she sees them at the pool. She hangs out. I mean, I've talked to a couple different people when I'm out, and I trust this is a good neighborhood, I think. I know people. One of my coworkers have lived here for a while, and he likes it, and they know quite a bit of people. But yeah, it's not. I knew more people up in New Hampshire, and we were farther apart. More of our neighbors.
Yeah, that's more of a small town, though. I think that's what small towns have over like bigger areas like we are living.
Yeah.
Like in your small town, you guys knew everyone.
Yeah.
It keeps you rooted into the community. You would trust people. You know what's going on, and you would put up your life for those people.
Yeah,
I don't know the person that's living 5 doors down.
Yeah, you knew the people at the gas station on a first name basis.
Exactly.
You would see these people all the time. You would go to the library, little tiny library, and Sumi, her name was, or Soini. You know these people. I haven't talked to that lady in years, but you know who they are. You know the local hardware store people. You know the town workers. Who plow the roads. So, yeah, down here in Inman, like there's 10,000 people that live here, which is still a small town, but not compared to 3,000 in New Ipswich. Greenville's huge. So it's
communication has changed so much. Like back then with the less technology, like to talk to people, you had to go out and talk to people. Nowadays, with all the rise of social media and stuff like that, you can talk to people across the world. You don't actually have to go out and talk to people like face to face if you don't want to.
I think you're gone to something about just the fall of the community. There's no community anymore. So why would you?
Why would you risk your life to go protect the kids? You don't know who they are. Who cares?
Right.
Because it's like, oh, what about my life?
Right. And it's not necessarily even like a selfish. It's just human nature.
I feel
You don't know them. To you, it's not a big deal. Like if you hear about someone getting in a car accident that you don't know and they die down the road,
you don't
it's
think
like,
about
oh
it.
yeah, it's like sad, but it's like whatever. But if when you grew up in a small town, it's like, oh hey, that was the hardware worker. He died. Oh wow, that's crazy. I just saw him the other day. So I think you're right. I think that when you lose community. And we are losing community every day.
Especially with COVID.
COVID, yeah.
You don't see you didn't see people's faces.
Right. And that's also I think why the George Floyd riots went on is people were locked up, they weren't doing
pissed.
anything. And especially in these Democrat cities where everyone was locked down. That's where it mostly all happened.
It was more lax around here. I mean, it was like what? About maybe like not even a month. It was really, really bad where like, people's things were shut down, but
right. And it
opened up.
Bad,
it opened up quite like pretty fast.
I got one time that I was told that I couldn't go into a place because I didn't have a mask. That's it. One time.
Yeah, and then like coming from here, that same summer when COVID was big, we went up north for vacation, and it was insane up there.
Yeah.
Like if you had a mask, you were like looked at weird. If you didn't have a mask, you were looked at weird. And it's like people are just they're so scared to like see people's faces now. But COVID's kind of dying down, but it's gonna come back.
Oh yeah, they're already talking about it.
Just wait till November, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, community's big, and we've definitely lost that value. And if you don't know the people that you see on a daily basis, then I mean, think of how many faces you see nowadays.
It's done.
You couldn't be able to know everyone in your community.
But it goes back to like, well, I wanted something for my car. I ordered it off Amazon. It's just easier. Why would I go to the auto parts store?
Yeah.
So right there, you got Amazon, you got all these deliveries, you got DoorDash. You don't ever see people. You don't have to go in and pick something up from the restaurant anymore. You don't talk to these people.
Yeah, and then now with all these apps, like let's say you go to Starbucks, if you want to go to that liberal company. Remember when we went that one summer when I was still working with you, we went to that same like Ingles Starbucks, and we were like every time we went in there, they were like they just saw us and they immediately you want the same thing? We're like, yep. But nowadays with all these things, you can order right off your phone.
Yep.
Walk in there. You would pay with it on your phone. Don't talk to anyone. Grab your drink. Walk out.
And all these self checkouts.
Yep.
McDonald's, you order kiosks, and I use those.
I use bad.
I use self checkouts because it's just easier.
It's faster. Actually.
It's way faster. Like, yeah, on my mini rant episode, I ranted about people being lazy and stuff, and that's the biggest reason why I use the self checkouts. Because people are just slow and are terrible. But yeah, I don't know. The community is huge. We definitely need to build back community.
Yeah, and then what else? You could say we need constitutional carry nationwide.
Yes, everywhere.
Too bad the Supreme Court doesn't just. There was that one thing with the New York where they changed it where you should be able to get a permit.
Shall issue.
Yeah, if only they should have came out and said something about like any like needing a permit is against
the right
the Constitution
of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Well, it's a shall issue state, so it's not technically infringing. And it's like, okay, but you're deliberately and a lot of people have...
It's not a good enough reason for you to have a gun.
It's like, whatever. I mean, I went to the CWP class, and I already knew everything we went through. It was just...
Remember, me and you got a 100 out of 100 on the written test, and the guy was like, what are you guys, cheating? No, it was all like just simple stuff. If you're around guns, you're going to be comfortable with guns. Okay, the thing with when you go to all the these cities, which is normally where people don't want guns,
where you need them the most,
they don't see guns on the regular. So if they saw someone with a gun, they'd be scared. If I see someone in let's say I'm going to Target or something like that, which probably actually not Target, but I don't know where someone.
Ingles, I saw someone.
Ingles, yeah, okay. I've seen people with guns. I've seen someone, a guy with a gun. It was up in New Hampshire with like a pecking revolver, Colt revolver, and I wasn't nervous. Like I don't see a gun and I get nervous.
Yeah, I saw a guy walking through Ingles with a 1911.
Exactly.
1911.
Yep.
It was great.
Open carrying. I don't get nervous around guns. You need to be around this stuff.
The gun can't hurt you unless the trigger's pulled.
Exactly. So we need constitutional carry. And then if this guy was really having a mental health crisis, we need to fix mental health stuff.
Yeah, open up this
Quit giving people SSRIs.
Yeah, we talked about that on our last episode.
Yeah, and there are...
I'm actually curious. Was this guy on him?
I don't know. I don't know.
They won't tell us now.
I don't think much stuff has come out.
They won't tell us anymore.
But there are studies coming out that... Because obviously men, they're typically more aggressive and stuff like that. That SSRIs can make someone have homicidal thoughts. They can give people suicidal thoughts, but they also can give homicidal thoughts. And all these recent shooters and stuff have been on SSRIs.
And a lot of these people, they don't have a sense of purpose in life. They don't have anything to live for. So like my dad says, when people don't have anything to lose, that's when they go off the rails. And, that's what happens with a lot of these people. There's no sense of community anymore. And this goes back to it. There's no sense of community, like with the Uvalde school shooter. Like, nobody's watching out for this kid. Be like, hey, this kid needs help. You know what I'm saying? He's weird. He's making these weird moves or things that are concerning. There's no community there to help him. Nobody knew who this kid was until he started blowing or shooting stuff up. Well, actually, he made threats before, and he went under the river. But I don't know.
Yes, we probably said everything we can about that. So we probably should move on to our last story, which is the House Democrats reject a GOP resolution to denounce violence against churches and pro-life centers. Before we go into the story, are you really surprised?
Of course not.
Exactly.
They hate Christians.
It's so backwards. So if we go into the story, it says, this past Tuesday, the Democrats blocked a GOP resolution to condemn violence against churches and pro-life centers following numerous attacks in recent weeks, and this comes from the Daily Wire. Representative Mike Johnson, a Republican from Louisiana, introduced House Resolution 1233, which sought to condemn the recent attacks on pro-life facilities, groups, and churches. Johnson took to social media to blast the left's silence regarding the recent pro-abortion attacks on churches and pro-life centers. Quote, ever since the Dobbs decision, crisis pregnancy centers have been subjected to a nationwide spate of violence and vandalism that has been met with silence from President Biden and Democrats. He tweeted, "Enough is enough." So ever since this, even before the Dobbs decision, whenever it leaked, and what was it, May 20? No,
I don't remember.
May 2nd or something like that of this year. I think that Supreme Court decision got leaked, and ever since then, what is it? Jane sent us. No, yeah. Jane's Revenge.
Yeah.
Ruth sent us. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Have been attacking Catholic churches, other denominations churches, pro-life, like the pregnancy centers, because they think of them as some violent center which is going to force women to have pregnancies when they don't want it. Well, if a lady really wants an abortion, why would she go to a pregnancy center?
Yeah, I don't know. And so I'm looking this up for violence against pro-life, and that's all Google brings up is anti-abortion violence against pro-choice stuff. They're just pushing lies. They're trying to cover everything up. Like,
use Brave.
Yeah. What is Brave?
Brave is like the new thing since DuckDuckGo has gone woke, and they said that because the whole thing about DuckDuckGo is they're not gonna filter like news articles and stuff that comes up. They'll just put out whatever, and then they came out with all this Ukraine stuff. They were like, oh, we're gonna start filtering against the Russian stuff, and ever since then, people wanted to go use Brave. Now Brave's the new thing.
So there's all this
suppressing news.
Exactly. There's violence against pro-life buildings and operations companies, and they're just trying to cover it up with that there might be violence against abortion clinics. And it's just the left doing what the left does. They have to lie, cheat, and steal over anything to win anything. There's bots everywhere on the internet. Dead internet theory.
Dead internet theory. Look it up. 2016.
So yeah. Anyways, I think that there's a red wave coming. When the truth gets out, the left screams, wails, whines, moans, complains, and the truth's coming out. The left is evil. People are seeing it, and you know what? It's not even really the left. It's the far left. I think what's going to happen. This is a thought of mine. Is that this wokeism is going to end, and the left, Democrat, is going to fall apart. That's just going to go away, and then the Republican Party is going to split. Into two different things. You know what I'm saying? And there'll be maybe, because throughout the United States history, there's always been two different parties. They were called, Federalists versus the non-Federalists or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Whigs versus non-Whigs. Well, that's more British history.
But so it might split into something like that. So the Republican Party gets bigger, and then, obviously there's going to be differences, and it might split more on, government policy, foreign policy, if we can just win this culture war. So, and hopefully that happens. Because this far left wokeism is destroying our country. Our country is weak. It's prime time for China to attack us right now. They're threatening to do something drastic because Nancy Pelosi was visiting Taiwan, or was going to, or she did. And I don't know, the far left is destroying this country. They won't protect the innocent.
That's their plan.
Yeah, exactly. And
well, so like you were saying, where you can't find this stuff, I did find a news article about it. Shout out to the Catholics. According to Catholic News Agency, starting in May, which is about when the Dobbs decision was leaked, there have been 77 attacks on churches, pro-life centers, maternity homes, and other pro-life organizations. And when they say attacks, like, it's arson, they're spray painting stuff, breaking windows. Like, they're not just protesting outside of it.
yeah.
Like, they're actually, like, destroying these places. They're writing on there, if abortions aren't safe, you aren't either. And they're just really nasty language and just destroying churches that, like, yeah, it's just stupid. And then you read into this. I went and read that House Resolution 1233, and what it says on there, it says the House of this is what it wanted the House of Representatives to say. The House of Representatives, 1, condemns recent attacks of vandalism, violence, and destruction against pro-life facilities, groups, and churches. 2, recognizes the sanctity of life and the important role pro-life facilities, groups, and churches play in supporting pregnant women, infants, and families. And 3, calls upon the Biden administration to use all appropriate law enforcement authorities to uphold public safety and to protect the rights of pro-life facilities, groups, and churches. That is what the bill wanted to do. And a lot of the bill was listing all the, well, not all, but most of the attacks and stuff that have been going on around the country.
Yeah.
And Democrats couldn't sign on to that. They don't want to condemn the attacks on these pro-life stuff. I think
they
it was
wanted to continue.
Yeah, they wanted to continue. Elizabeth Warren just recently said that in Massachusetts, because she's a senator, right?
Yeah.
Elizabeth Warren,
Yeah.
Pocahontas, said that in Massachusetts they need to get rid of these pro-life pregnancy centers because they are a danger to pregnant women. They go in there and they act like they'll help these ladies, and then they just get them to think they need to have the baby. What's so bad about that?
Right.
Like, honestly, do you think if a lady gets tricked, in quotes, that to have the baby, that she's actually going to regret it in the future? If she does, then she's a horrible person. But I really don't think it. I really don't think that they actually will regret it. And if you think these attacks are going to end anytime soon, we can assure you that they won't, because that Jane's Revenge, who's been doing a lot of these attacks, it's a far left movement, and they released a recent manifesto calling for action against pro-life movement, and has claimed responsibility for some of the attacks. They wrote, quote, "We will never stop, back down, slow down, or retreat. We did not want this, but it is upon us, and so we must deal with it proportionally. We exist in confluence and solidarity with all others in the struggle for complete liberation. Our recourse is now to defend ourselves and to build robust, caring communities of mutual aid so that we may heal ourselves with the need of the medical industry or any other intermediary. Through attacking, we find joy, courage, and strip the veneer of impenetrability held by these violent institutions." What a load of crap.
Yep.
They said it. Through attacking, we find joy.
They're evil.
They like destroying stuff. And what are they talking about? Violent institutions? How are these pregnant things violent institutions? You realize they go in there. I listened to this podcast with this lady who used to work at one of these things, was saying that they bring the ladies in there and they try to, they will give them diapers. They will do all this stuff for them and promise that if they have the baby, they will help them.
Yeah.
And if the lady says, still think I'll have the abortion, then they say, we hope you change your mind, and they let the lady out.
Yeah.
How is that a violent institution? My mom's going to go, it actually just signed out that she's going to go help one of those things.
At a pro-life.
At a pro-life thing around here.
That's awesome. And we need to do that. We need to protest. Actually, yeah, we need to protest against these abortion clinics. We need to get out. Why?
You can't. They said that they made this. I think it was I think it was Congress or something made a thing that you can't protest within, like, I forgot how many. If you can quick try to find it, like, you can't protest within like a certain amount of like yards or something away from it, because they were saying, because before, when Roe v. Wade initially came out, there were people protesting like right outside the doors, and they were saying, oh, you're harassing them. So, we have to make it so you can't protest right outside it. So, like, now people would just hold signs and stuff, like, however many feet away you can actually do it now. But, like, see, they make laws for people who are, like, holding up signs outside of a like, Planned Parenthood. But the Democrats can't even condemn people trying to burn down and smashing windows and spray bombing all over churches and stuff.
Yeah.
One thing you've got to realize... And I love this quote so much. Shout out to Michael Knowles and his books, Speechless, Controlling Thoughts, Controlling Minds?
Controlling Words.
Controlling Words, Controlling Minds. He wrote in there, conservative speech is violence, and liberal violence is speech.
Yep.
That's so true. Where pro-life people can't even hold up signs outside of a Planned Parenthood where they kill babies, but yet, like Jane's Revenge and stuff, can go out and burn down pro-life centers, and they don't do anything about it.
It's too bad. It's too bad, but you know what? There's hope. There's hope that the movement's happening. There's hope that people are starting to realize the craziness and the violence, and that's one thing we have is hope.
Hope in what?
Hope that America changes. Hope in God.
Just keep having kids and raising them right. Make sure if conservative, the thing is, conservatives have more kids than liberals, because as soon as Roe v. Wade and stuff got overturned, vasectomies went up the roof, and liberal dudes were out there showing off their vasectomy like receipts and stuff like that. So, in a few generations, conservatives will most likely be the majority, because we have kids. You just have to make sure that you raise them right.
Yeah, that's
and
the big...
that's our winning ticket right there. Have kids, raise them right, and yeah. Do you have any last thoughts?
No, I'm good.
All right, well, thank you guys for listening. I know this was kind of a little longer one, but once you get into it, then you just can't stop talking about certain things. But just make sure you like and follow the show, rate it 5 stars. Make sure you subscribe to the show, and if you really enjoy what we're doing, just let people know so we can build this thing a little bigger. We're just trying to, our voice is small right now, but we're just trying to build something, and we'll see where it goes in the future. But thanks, guys, and remember, the cross works.